We are currently looking for 6 amazing hosts to join our family for season 2 that will kick off February the 1st, 2024. If you're looking for an opportunity to allow your voice, your perspective, and your brand to be heard around the world and seen around the world, then join the Crew Podcast.
Basic Black After Dark, the all-new podcast show with your host, Black Diamond.
Hey everybody, this is Black Diamond from the Crew Network, and you're listening to Basic Black After Dark podcast, the show that meets you where you are and gives you what you ask for. To keep up with what's coming up, follow me on Facebook, Instagram at basic_black, and Twitter at blackdiamond03. I hope after watching this episode, you have at least one takeaway. Grief is the natural emotional response to the loss of someone close to you, such as family members or a friend. Grief can also occur after an illness, a divorce, or other significant losses. Grief often involves sadness and sometimes feelings of shock, numbness, or even denial and anger. My guest tonight knows all about grief. She is a grief counselor, an Army veteran, and one of 6 founders of Alpha Delta Omega Military Sorority Incorporated. She holds a degree in health administration, business administration, and health information technologies in the medical front office. She is the owner of Moments Like This Coaching and Counseling Services, LLC, and she's also a motivational speaker. Please welcome Miss Lakeisha Trim.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, how are you?
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is the holiday season, and this is the time of the year that is particularly hard for some people with the holidays among us. And for many, it's the first holiday that they're celebrating without their loved ones. This is the important thing to remember is that everyone grieves differently, and there's no right or wrong way to cope with loss. For some people, grief it affects their physical and mental health. Is there a slow return to normalcy for those who are grieving?
It's really not a slow return. It's how they, they take their time and do it. Because with a lot of people like to rush, you know, and it's not a rush process because we have to take our time to let things out, and we have to take our time to bring things in. A lot of people sit and say, well, I'm okay, but they're not really okay. So there's no time limit to it.
Okay. So what is the effects of grief? Excuse me. I'm so sorry, everybody. I have a cold. What are the effects of grief?
Loneliness,
Mm.
um, hurt, deceit, um, sometimes you can be effective so much just by thinking that you are the reason or the what if, you know, Those are
What
the
about
effects that
this?
mostly, affect people.
Are there different types of grief and loss besides death and dying?
Yes, there's personal grief, loss of a loved one, as in a relationship. There's
Mm,
financial grief. There's intimacy grief. You know, there's loss of a pet. It don't
mm,
have to be death all the time. You can just lose your job, death of a job. Death of a breakthrough, a friendship, anything like that. It Grief is a lot.
so, right,
It,
yeah, it's like something that has an end to it. Immediately after
yes,
death, those that's left behind often feel shocked. Sometimes they feel numb, and then there's those who also feel who are in denial, particularly if the death was unexpected. How
yes,
different is grief for the family member who's preparing for the death of a loved one than the death of someone who when it wasn't expected. So some people they prepare for the death of a loved one. They could be in hospice or they unfortunately could be, at the end of life. But then and they're grieving, but then there's some people who it was unexpected, unfortunately may get hit by a car, they could be caught up in a fire. And I hate to be so gruesome tonight. And they could be, murdered, shot, or anything like that. How different is the grief for those different scenarios?
well, with grief, with someone that's being prepared, that has been prepared for a while, like,
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say me. um with the death of my mom, because we knew she was gonna go one day, and we knew her cancer was, taking over. We were prepared, but our hearts wasn't prepared.
Oh,
With the
wow.
sudden death of my brother, because I had just been on the phone with him, not even 30 minutes before he passed away in a gruesome crash. um that was unexpected. So the hurt is different, because you're not looking for that person that just suddenly went like that to go. um the one that you are prepared for, I'm not gonna say you can't never be prepared, but it's just me. I'm never prepared for it. I would never be prepared for death, even though I know that death is life. you know I would never be prepared for death, because you it's always going to hurt your heart. you know and with someone that just goes suddenly, it's harder for a person to deal with that than it is for somebody that's prepared. Because when you are prepared, hey, mom is gone, we already got her affairs in order and everything.
Right.
But when someone just suddenly do it, oh well, you running around trying to get this done and get that done because you don't know, versus that that other person was sick and that time is coming.
I,
So
I've heard people, and I don't like to hear when people say this, and I don't know what's behind it when they say it, when they say, well, you got to go sometime. That's one of the things that I just don't like hearing, because for me, I say, well, I'm not trying to go right now. I still want to be here for a while. When people that I'm around that are we're in a gathering and somebody has passed away, some people take that attitude. And I'm gonna be honest, for me, when someone passes away, and especially if it's somebody that I know, if it's a family member, I shut down so bad. I'm not with the laughter of people sitting around laughing and joking and ha ha. And I get everybody does it differently, but it bothers me, and I have to remove myself. I have to walk away because it really bothers me. Not that they're doing that, but I have fond memories of the person, but that's not where I'm
mhm,
at that moment. And some people look and say, Dad, you're taking this so serious. And it becomes an issue, because maybe you had a different relationship with that person. But for
yeah,
me, I know how I felt, and that's just the way that I take that. There's some celebrities that die, and I just be sitting and I don't know them from a can of paint. And I take it hard. Now, there was one celebrity that I didn't know at all. And when she passed away, it bothered the heck out of me. And it still bothers me to this day that she's gone. And that's just the way that I take it. So I know everybody agrees differently.
Well, I'm with you with that. Because I, Whitney Houston,
That's the person
I
I was
still,
thinking.
I still can't understand why she gone. Um, that was my mama twin. My brother called me and told me that she died. He told me turn the TV on. Your mama twin dead. I said, hey, who dead? And I looked. I started crying. I watched the funeral. I still play replays of Ray J touching her casket. Yes, I do. But with what you said about people saying that we got to go sometime, I'm not a biblical person. I believe in Christ. I really do. But you are right. Sometimes those words are not the words that people need to hear at that time.
Right.
You know, people need to watch what they say when a person is grieving, because you don't know the reaction that you're going to get out of that person. You shut down when you have, a loss. I don't shut down. I got to keep going. I got to keep going, because if I don't keep going, then I'm a break. But I have to keep going in order to deal with the death. I put in my mind that I know for a fact what my brother and my mom would want me to do. They wouldn't want me to quit. My brother would always call me a crybaby, so I know I can't cry. You know, I shed my tears here and there, but I also know that life must go on. I can't live in that depression stage, because if I live in that depression stage, who's going to help me? Who's going to be there for me? And I'm burdening everyone else. And this is just me. This is my thing about it. I don't like to burden nobody.
Right.
So when I said, I lost a friend almost a year ago, and I cried. I really cried. I shut down. But when I shut down and I looked at his picture, I'm like, this dude, no good and well, I ain't gonna sit here and cry all this time. You know, I let it out, but I had to move on because I have to live life. I have to keep going. You know, I don't want nobody to mourn over me before my time, because depression is a silent killer,
Yeah, yes,
and
it is.
it will kill you.
When
And
a person grieving begins to understand the reality of death, they can feel intensely sad, empty, or lonely. How do you coach or counsel someone who has anger or guilt following grief?
the first thing I ask them is why. Why do you feel that way? Why do you want to stay depressed? Why are you shut off? Why do you think that it's better for you to live like you're living? Why do you think that you're supposed to be in a corner?
Well, while you're
That's
counseling,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, while you're counseling, your clients, and of course, I know confidentiality and privacy, but what are some of the feelings they exhibit about guilt? What are some of the feelings that people have with guilt?
Some say they should have went.
Mm.
You know, why so young? Why they had to take them instead of me? I'm the oldest.
Mm.
Or I
It's crazy that you say that, because growing up, I always thought I'm the youngest of 8, and I never said this to my siblings or anybody in my family, but I always thought that you would die according to the way you came into the family. And then I used to sit and cry sometimes and say I'm gonna be by myself because they're gonna all be gone. And this before I had any kids. I don't even really think that I was a teenager at the time. And I just thought that way, that because they came first, they would go first. And then I would be crying, saying that I would be by myself, and crying like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be by myself. But the church does help. You start reading, you start finding out more information. But that was just the way that I had thought back then, that everybody's going to leave me. I'm going to be here by myself. My parents are going to be gone. My siblings are going to be gone. Who's going to be here with me? And that's just the way that I had thought. But
and it's not just you. It's a lot of people that think that way because they feel, hey, I'm I'm the youngest. I'm not supposed to go until everybody else go, or you know. And in my situation, my dad never thought he would be bearing his baby boy.
Yeah.
But it's life, and we are in that circle. You
I
know,
understand that grief has no set pattern. It's expressed differently across different cultures. Some people like to be expressive in public with their emotions. They're just
hmm
out there. While others like to keep their feelings private or bottled up. How do you know they are grieving, and what are some of the signs of grief?
they keep to themselves. Um, some people, you can tell when a person, okay, if a person is so into social media and so much on social media, and then one day you just don't see them, you know, and you be like, so what's wrong? But one of their friends passed away, but they're not, they're not showing it. They saying they're okay. But you can look at some people facial features and see they're not really okay. It's the way some people talk. Some people answer you, you know. Um, how can I say it? You can be at the hospital with someone that just lost someone, and they be the strongest person in the room, but their touch and that voice can tell you everything about that person and how that person is feeling.
So how would you go about supporting a friend or family member that has lost a loved one?
Be
Because
there.
oh, great.
Be there.
But some people just want to be alone, and they'll tell you, I just want to be alone.
And when they tell you they just want to be alone, you are alone. I would not say a mumbling word.
Okay. Okay.
Quietness is the best, because then a person will come out to you. You don't have to say nothing, nothing at all.
So you can tell them,
A
I
person,
understand that you want to be alone. I just want to sit here with you. And
I
then they'll
just want to
just
sit
try to
here.
say, okay, okay.
I just want to sit here, because if you go to a person, you know how we always say, "Oh, I'm praying for you, my
Mm,
condolences," and all that
yeah.
stuff like that. You can say that to a person, but after that person is buried, you ain't gonna hear from these people no more.
I've heard that.
You're
Some
not
people
gonna hear from these people.
some people find it hard to say their condolences to you when your loved one has passed away. What should you say after someone's loved one has passed away?
I'm here.
Mm,
That's it. I'm here.
wow.
Because you can tell a person, like I just said, you can tell a person I'm praying and don't even say a prayer. You can tell a person my condolences, don't even mean it. The words that a person needs to hear is, I'm here. That's all they need, because you don't know if that person needs to talk. You don't know if that person just needs a shoulder. You don't know if that person needs to scream.
Mm,
I'm here. Hey, let's go take a ride.
yeah.
Don't say nothing to them. Let them voice everything. Let them talk. That's all you can do. Just let them talk.
I know
I have
when.
told go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I have told some of my clients, if you need to scream, scream. If you
Mm,
need to cry, you need to kick, you need to hit somebody, let me put on my bulletproof vest and everything, and you can punch whatever you want to punch. And let me put a pillow so you can punch me. You can punch me. You can scream, you can choke me, you can cuss me out, you can do whatever you want to do to get it out, because I want you to get it out.
when I lost my husband, it was one of the most sinking feelings that I've ever felt. It was painful. It was constant. It was overwhelming. Does grief come in waves, and do they seem to fade away for a while before they return? Because to me, that's the way that I felt. That it just felt like it was just coming in waves, and it just was coming and going. And at times, it just felt like it was fading away, but then it just came right back again.
It comes in waves. It comes in waves because you you can put it out your mind for a minute, but if you think of something that you and him done together, or
Mm,
if you think of something that's in remembrance of him, if you look at a picture, it brings things back. So A lot of people say that you need to get rid of some things that remind you of the people that you lost. Don't get rid of it because you still need to grieve. That means you are still not finished dealing with that grief. It's still something inside of you that you haven't got out yet, and you still need to get it out.
Wow.
So when it comes, don't feel like you it's hurting you. It's not hurting you. It's healing you.
Yeah. So there's a question here. It says, how do you tell someone you think they need grief counseling?
You don't tell them. You ask them. You ask them.
Simple little
It's a way of telling in a way of asking. You rearrange your words.
Mhm.
Um, if someone grief with losing a job, if I know someone just lost their job and they don't want to talk about it,
Excuse me.
I will go to them and ask them, "How you feeling?
Mm.
You want to talk about it?" That's it. That's it. And then they'll start talking to you. You don't have to say a whole bunch to somebody that you know that needs counseling because they're going to speak to you. If they feel that they can open up to you,
Mhm.
they're going to talk to you.
Wow. So some
You
of these
just have
people,
go
some of
ahead.
these people might feel or act differently than usual when they're grieving. They might have difficulty concentrating. They could be withdrawing and not enjoying their usual activities. Some people even resort to drinking, smoking, or using illegal pharmaceuticals. I'll say, is that normal?
It is normal because they're trying to cope.
So that's their
They're
way
trying.
of coping.
They're trying to go. They're trying to go to anything to cope. Um, I always use myself because I don't do anything with anyone that I haven't been through.
Hmm.
With me, when my mom passed away, it was cutting my hair. I didn't cut my hair when my mama was living, but when my mom passed, because it was my strength, I cut my hair.
Wow.
My dad watched me go to the beauty shop and cut my hair. He was like, "You really? Yeah, I'm cut my hair." And every time someone passed away in my family, I cut my hair.
Mm.
That was me. That was me coping.
So
With
everybody
my
has different
Yeah,
coping ways of
coping
coping.
mechanism.
How often do you treat people who have thoughts of hurting themselves or that they can't go on after grief of loss? You know, some people just say, I can't do it. And you know what? I'm not gonna say some people. I'm gonna bring it in and I'm gonna be real about it. When my husband passed away, that's what I thought. I just thought that I just wasn't going to go on at all, you know. But my kids got me through. They got me through a part of it to where it was okay for me to get up every day and do things. But it's been 17 years now. This past November, well, this November, and we just got him a tombstone, or rather, I did because I did not want to accept it. And the other thing is, I still don't have answers surrounding his death. And I'm just starting to breathe. I feel like I have been slowly pulling the oxygen tank, you know, away, the mask away and whatnot, because now I'm able to breathe a little bit more because it's not that I'm getting answers for what happened to him because I still don't know what happened. And I'm just not believing too much of what I was told. But on another aspect, I'm getting closure for things that I need that should have been done and put in place during the time that when it initially happened. I'm just getting answers for other things, but I'm still not getting answers for the death of him. And there's a part of me that's he's saying, don't worry about it. But there's just that one thing that I'm holding on to, and it has been eating me up for 17 years. What happened to him? You're not going to tell me that this man has been missing. My husband was missing for 3 weeks. He was dead for 3 weeks. Nobody knew anything. I called the hospital. Nobody knew anything. Called the morgue. Called everybody. Nobody knew anything. In that one last moment, I eventually called the morgue again, and they said, "Yes, he's here." I just felt like I was in a tunnel by myself. And when I went to go see his body, they told me that I couldn't. They sent me running around everywhere. So I wound up trying to get his belongings and whatnot. They told me because of HIPAA law, I couldn't get it. So they told me that I had to go back to the morgue and for them to give me permission to get it. But let me tell you something. Now, he was missing for 3 weeks. They didn't know who he was. They gave me his belongings. When I took his belongings and I looked through them, his wallet, identification, my son's identification, my phone number was in his wallet. And I'm going to tell you right now, I still have those things. Why couldn't you look in those things? I know they did. If you probably took the money out, whoever was there, but you could have looked them. If you felt as though this was a John Doe, you should have looked through those things because you would have been able to tell me. You would have been able to call me. I think it's bullcrap, and this is why I'm saying when I found all of that, I said something happened. So I asked them to do an autopsy, and they told me they can only do a partial autopsy on him because of his age. They only was able to do a partial. I don't want to take just too much up because I start to get angry again because I still don't have answers for what happened. But what about those who show no emotion at all? Are you surprised by their feelings? And how do you counsel them when there does not seem to be anything there, like they're drawing a blank? Because I know at that time that I just drew a blank. There was nothing. I was just walking, and you would think that I felt like I was dead and just walking around like a mummy. You would see me doing things, taking the kids to school, helping them with their homework, doing laundry. But I had checked out. You just saw the shell moving around, but I was gone. I was just I'm going to be honest, I was in another space, another headspace. I wasn't who I am. I really wasn't.
There's a way of breaking a person because you can break a person in order to get them to release. With you, I'm just going to say I would get you out of that space of wanting to know. I will get you out of that space of wanting to know. Because a lot of times we want to know, but we really don't want to know. Because it's only going to make you madder. Because if you find out what you already knew, you go get worse. Because you go keep saying, oh, I knew that. I knew that. I knew this would happen. I knew that was happening. I know they could have did this and I know they could have did that. They didn't do it. They did do it. It's going to get you back to the point where you don't want to be.
I guess that's why I wasn't breathing for such a long time. But yeah, I get that. I received that.
Yeah. So why would you want to know? It's been so long. Sometimes we do have to let go in order to go on. Because right now, you like you say, you holding on to his wallet and stuff. I'm sorry, y'all, but I have to say this.
That's fine. Look, I'm getting counseled tonight, so that's fine.
You're holding on to his wallet and stuff. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with you going in it. Don't keep asking yourself the question, why didn't they do it? You can't answer for no one else. You can only answer for what you would have done, not nobody else. We can always assume, and they saying assuming makes ass out of us if we keep on assuming. We can assume, we can ask, we can question, we can do all those things over and over again. But if we don't get the answer that we don't want, or we get the answer that we do want, but it's not what we want to hear, we get mad again. So that means you're upsetting your heart once again because you're reliving everything.
You're right. When we went to do the we finally did the tombstone, and I thought that would have been my closure. But I get back home, I'm doing something, and boom, his stuff is right there. And I see it again, and I just sit there and I just start wondering again. I keep saying every time when I'm talking to somebody about something, I'm going to have closure. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I got to figure out how I'm going to get past this. People say go to grief counseling and stuff.
It works.
It's been 17 years, and I know that it does. But for some reason, I feel like I'm just not there yet. And you know what? I'm not even going to say that because more and more adds on to it. See, now we're going to turn this into a session, so I'm not even going to try to go there with you. I'm definitely going to call you after this because I have other relatives who have passed away, and one of them was my father. And I don't know what happened. And I'm filled with some relatives who have passed away, and then I just don't know what happened. And I may never know. And it just, some of them was very unexpected. And then I had it, and there was this one year that it was back to back, where I lost them back to back. 2015, two or three of them, and they were my nieces and nephews. 2016, my sister and another niece, and then my dad right behind it. So they were just going right back to back. It was like we just couldn't climb out of that hole. And some of them, there were answers that I don't have. And that's how I go when it's somebody that passed away. And I need to know how to accept or to deal with or to cope with it. And I know that it's eating me up. I know that it's eating me up. Not to the place that I'm bitter, but I think I become bitter when somebody else passed away. So God forbid if somebody else in this family passed away, I'm back at that again. Right back at that same place again. Even if it's somebody we knew that was maybe elderly, God forbid anybody in the family is elderly and they pass away, or that's sick or anything like that. It takes me right back to the beginning of everybody else again.
And see, you're holding on. You're holding on to everything that's bottled up in you about different people. You're going to take it to the point where if you don't get the answers because you're stressing so much about the answers, it's going to harm you.
And you're right. You know, you're absolutely right. I'm going to say this quickly, and we're going to take a commercial break. Several have told me to go for grief counseling. And like I said, it's been over a decade. And I'm going to be honest with whoever's watching and be honest with myself. I think I'm more afraid of going for grief counseling because I'm afraid that I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. And that's what I'm afraid of, because I see it every time I think of going there because of everything. And it's just so many of the losses now. And I'm at that point that I'm just so afraid of going there. I keep saying I'm going to take some time off. I'm going to take about a month off and just go into counseling and try to do that, because I know I need it. I'm going to acknowledge it. I know that I need grief counseling, and I'm going to do it. I'm not even going to say it's going to be my New Year's resolution. I'm just not even going to stick with that. But that's going to be my self-care, and I'm going to go into grief counseling because it's really getting to me more and more. Something else can happen, and it'll show up again. It'll show up, and it's just a mess. But we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back, and we're going to be speaking to Lakeisha Trim about coping with grief and loss. Powerful, very powerful. We are back here tonight with Lakeisha. I'm so sorry, Lakeisha Trim, and she's giving us insight into coping with grief. And before we came across that break, I was basically talking about myself, and I apologize to everyone. I did not mean to make this about myself, but I'm taking this all in from Lakeisha, and I am going to seek that grief counseling because the older I get, the more I'm not able to deal with loss and grief. And, you know, growing up in the family that I grew up in, I'll speak for me. It's like this person will never die. They will always be here. They will always be there, always be around. And it started happening. You know, I felt as that I was Richard and Oprah because I had all my family, all my brothers, all my sisters, all my aunts, all my uncles, and I didn't experience. I experienced it young with my grandmother. I was about 10 years old when she had passed, But after that, it was a while before anybody had passed, and I just felt like that was my richness. But then when they started passing away, it was just harder and harder for me to deal with it. Just how important is it to talk about your loved one after loss, and when is it okay to talk about them?
It's okay to talk about them right when they die because it's no time limit, really. You can talk about them each and every day of your life until you go. I talk about my mom and them every day because a lot of people tell me, you know, I'm gonna get personal with you. My mom passed away at 93. I had just graduated. I had just made 18 years of age. I left home. I went to Job Corps. I found my first husband. I was pregnant. I went to the doctor's office, and the lady asked me, she said, well, where's your parents? I said, well, my mama right here on side of me, my daddy in Louisiana. She said, well, and that's just how she asked me. She said, well, I said, yes, ma'am. I said, my mama's sitting right here. She said, but I read in your report that your mom is deceased. I said, yes, my mom's deceased, but my mama is with me everywhere I go. She was like, I said, ma'am, I said, let me tell you something. I'm not crazy, and I'm definitely not dumb. Don't send me to the cuckoo hospital because I'm not. I say I'm a spiritual person because death takes away the physical of a person. They don't take the spiritual. My mom is sitting right here with me and she's guiding me. She's my angel.
Wow.
She said, so how can you not cry?
Wow.
I can't cry because my mom is my strength. Her death made me strong because what she went through, I saw her go through it. And when she went through it, I was there. So that made me strong. She said, you different. I said, I know I am. We are all different. Someone else may not grieve like I grieve. But with me, griefs in my life, no matter who it is going to make me strong because I have to live the way that person knew that I live and keep on pushing and keep on pressing. Because if I be depressed, how am I supposed to help my kids? How am I supposed to help my grandkids? I can't be strong for someone and I can't be strong for myself.
Wow, that's just so powerful. Latanya Littlejohn says, I can definitely relate. Therapy requires you to see things for what they are and face them head on.
Yes.
So, Latanya, I'm going to tell you that I'm going to go see a counselor. I'm going to not going to say I'm going to do it tomorrow, but I'm going to do it as soon as I can because it is eating at me, and anniversaries are coming up, and it bothers me, and I get really quiet, and like my sister's birthday's coming up on the 11th, and I usually just sit quietly and I get my little breakfast and I watch old Bette Davis movies because that's what we used to do, and so that's the way that I do it. So they should honor the life of the person who has died, like collecting photos, like you said, or keepsakes, writing a journal, writing a letter to the person who died, or some kind of stories that you can share. Now, yeah, that I can do. I often share stories and things like that. And it was a time that with my kids, when they used to work my last night after my husband had passed, I used to say, do you hear what your son just said? And and my kids started doing it, like, Dad, do you hear my? So that was some way of getting through it. But I think that I was doing it just for them. And I really wasn't doing it for me. Grieving is hard enough. It can also be exhausting. I had several dreams about my husband, so much so that I thought that I felt his presence or that I heard his voice. I questioned myself on several different levels. I didn't know if I was sinking into depression or if it was just a loss that I had to deal with. And if I could be honest, I thought I was coping well after his death. Then I thought that it was just an episode before the impact, which was about 6 months following his death. I felt like I was hit by a ton of bricks. I didn't see it coming. I never thought that I would have positive experiences following his death, but I gained a new sense of wisdom, maturity, and meaning in life after that. So I know that I need grief counseling because there's still some things that I need to talk about. And it's not as much as what happened. I know I probably will never know what happened, but somebody do. And I think what I'm going to do, and I thank you so much for this episode. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until I know that we're together again and I ask him what happened. So I think that it's probably better coming from him to tell me. But he don't need to come tell me right now. Don't come tap me on the shoulder and start having a conversation with me right now because I'm not ready to hear you. Latanya says it's not easy. It will never be easy, but you have to do it for your own sanity. Thank you so much.
Yep, you
Grieving
do.
breaks your heart. Yes, it does. It seems it never heals, but every day you get closer to healing. Every day is just a different day. And
It's
it,
it's
and it is.
it's a coincidence
Mm,
that you said about the letter. Okay.
mm,
This year, November 23rd was my brother's birthday. It fell on Thanksgiving. Usually for Thanksgiving, when my brother first passed away, um, he passed 2 days after my dad's birthday. So my dad's birthday will never be the same. Memorial Day weekend will never be the same because he passed on Memorial Day weekend. But what got us through the first year for his birthday, because he died May 27th, 2017, November 23rd, 2017 for his birthday, I wrote a letter.
oh,
I got the video still on Facebook. I wrote a letter. I surprised my dad with a shield for the motorcycle with my brother army picture on it. We all went to the graveyard and I read the letter. I was mad with my brother because he left me. But then when I was able to, like my oldest sister told me, because in my letter I said, I gotta let go. My sister said, no, you don't have to let go. You just go see him later. So now when I think about my brother, this year, like I say, my kids don't let me be alone during that time because they know how me and my brother were. We was two peas in a pod.
mm-hmm.
But I don't be sad. I shed a few tears and be like, boy, why in the world you had to, man, you know what we could be doing right now? That's
Mm-hmm.
just how I talk to him. Like you say, I talk to him. Now for him to answer me back, if he answers me back, that's something wrong. But
Yeah, I
I
know.
get the sense that he's right there and he'd be like, girl, you knucklehead, those type of things. That's how I cope. People may say you crazy for talking to the dead. They can hear you. It's for them not to answer you back.
Oh, yeah.
But I go to the graveyard and people tell me, they body is not there. I say, I know. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it's so meaningful for me that I can sit on top of that grave and say everything that I have to say and feel so much better.
Well, you mentioned you still have something on Facebook. I've seen posts on Facebook where people are wishing their loved ones who passed away a happy heavenly birthday, maybe a
Mm-mm.
happy anniversary in heaven. Is that normal?
That's normal. But what you don't do is you don't wish them a happy heavenly birthday. You wish them a happy earthly birthday in heaven because their heavenly birthday is when the day they died. Their earthly birthday is their birthday.
Mm. Okay, so you hear that, everybody that's watching? Take that under advisement. How do you help children cope with the loss of a loved one?
Ooh, that's a hard one. That is a very, very hard one, but I had to do it. Um, my daughter, whew, her boyfriend got shot right behind her. They were sitting on the stairs. And for you to see your child see someone lose their loved one right there, take their last breath, and for you to see her, and all she did was shut down. She was sitting in the car with me, and all I could do was sing, not ask her how she doing, none of that. I let her sit there and cope with it herself. She went in the bathtub. We thinking she taking a bath. She crying her heart out because that's how she wanted to deal with it. When it was her time to talk to me, that's when I let her talk. I
Latanya
don't
says,
push them.
Latanya says, I was definitely angry when my biological mother passed away. My anger came from a place of feeling abandoned. I was away from her for 31 years, and I only got to spend 3 years and 11 months before I lost her for good. She says, so she gets it. She gets it. Uh, is the children who are trying to cope with it, is their grief different than the way that an adult may grieve for a loved one? Like a woman can lose her husband and she's going to feel a certain way, but her child is going to lose the father. You know, how different is that? Because they lost the same person, but I guess because the relationships was different. But how different is that?
It's different because intimacy. A father and a daughter, or a father and a son, has a different intimacy than a husband and wife.
Mhm.
They'll never get to spend that time. The mother had time
Mm,
with their father because, of course, they had time before they were born. But if someone loses their father at the age of 5, they didn't have those years because they didn't understand the years before they got to the age of 2 to
mm,
understand what a father is supposed to do, how I'm supposed to react. I can't go to a dance with my daddy, but my mama went to a party with my daddy. They're gonna have resentment against that other parent because
they had the
they
time.
didn't have that time. Time is what everybody asks for now. You know,
So,
I,
at what age should you start talking to children about death and dying? Even if a person did not pass away, at what age should you start talking to them about death and dying?
I say 5
Right.
because at the age of 5 they start learning a lot of things. Even though nowadays these 3-year olds and 2-year olds know how to work a
Mhm.
computer and all that stuff like that, to get them to really focus and to understand at the age of 5.
Okay. So at the age of 5 would be the best.
At the age of 5 will be the
Lakeisha,
best time.
you co-authored 2 international best-selling books and are a 2-time Amazon best-selling author and a 2-time international best-selling author. You have several books, Finding Joy in the Journey and Pendulum of a Mother's Love. You also co-author. You're also the co-author of Living Life After Divorce: Fearless Stories of Encouragement, Rediscovery and Self-Love, False Advertisement, and When the Soul Cries, Trauma, Tears, and Triumph. When the Heart Cries, Heartwarming Stories of Overcoming Grief. And your latest is Beneath the Surface: Life Under the Mask, an anthology. Are these books from personal experience or the experience of others? And is there like surrounded by death? I know I see some of them are saying trauma, but are they personal experiences, or because you're a counselor, are they experiences of others that's brought into your books and the lives of others?
All the books of my life,
Oh,
I'm an open book. I am an open book. And every single book that I have co-authored, my latest book that just came out, it's the wrong love, wrong address. That's the newest one. It just came out last month. Um, everything is me, my personal life. Nothing in the books that I dealt with is false. Everything is real. It's me. My words, my life. I can tell you exactly what's in there. It's everything of me. The Pillar of a Mother's Love is the relationship between me and my mom. Um, when the heart cries, that's about my brother's death. When the soul cries, that's about me being raped. Living beneath the mask, that's about me living with someone that I had to walk on eggshells. I was living for somebody else and not living for myself.
wow.
Um, Finding Joy in a Journey is it's anthology of positive affirmations about things that was in my life. Um, I have two life after divorces. One is about when one of my husbands beat me. The other one is me living life and being who I am and not living for someone else and living myself and living my truth. And not letting grief and depression and anxiety take over me.
Wow. Well, Lakeisha, I want to thank you for being my guest tonight. This episode was really important to me. How can we connect with you?
You can find me on Facebook, author Lakeisha Trim Green, my regular Facebook page, Lakeisha Trim Green, Instagram, author Lakeisha Trim Green, young ladies, 70514 at Gmail is my Gmail. Moments like this counseling company. Find me everywhere. I'm here. I'm an open book. So, if anyone wants to reach me, just look for my name and I will talk to you. Like I said, I'm open book. I am an open book. And Latanya, she can tell you, I don't sugarcoat anything. I give you what you need, not what you want. I give you what you need. And again, I don't sugarcoat nothing. I'm not one of those therapists that's gonna sit there and say, yeah, uh-huh. No. If you just want to cry, like I say, beat on something, I'm right here. Yell at me, cry, curse at me, say what you gotta say, but I'll need you to get it out.
If you experience grief or loss, you may always feel some sadness and miss a person once they're gone. But the painful, intense feelings should gradually subside. It eventually becomes easier to deal with life, but keep in mind life after grief and loss will be different. Give yourself permission to grieve. It is natural to cry. Many people find crying a relief. Exploring and expressing emotions can be a part of grief. Listening to music or writing can help. Time spent alone can allow you to connect with your emotions. And if you're hearing this message, you listen to the entire episode. And if you or someone you know is having a hard time dealing with the holidays and needs someone to talk to, please reach out to Miss Lakeisha Trim or your doctor. And in case of an emergency, call 911. Don't just try to deal with it on your own. Join us on Friday, December 15th. I will be speaking with Pastor Stephanie Johnson Rice on Faith Not Lost, after 8, after dark. She sugarcoats.
Basic Black, After Dark, the all-new podcast show with your host, Black Diamond.